Get over here!
I do remember, like, going through the story of Marvel Infinite, which is just a complete waste, if I may be honest with you, but, like, that's old news, right?
Yeah.
But it does have its moments where it gets interesting. Like, for example, Venom's symbiote, right? What is, one of the best ways to deal with, the symbiote?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, sound.
Yeah, sound. What does Frank West do? He freaking starts smashing cars to get the alarm to stun the symbiote.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is a very Frank West thing to do, and I appreciate that.
Because the other thing I really liked about Marvel 3 is I liked how certain characters had... Whoa.
Nice work, Archer.
Characters would have certain, quips that they would only give to other characters, like the your witness, Miss Walters.
Yep.
Stuff like that.
Between Phoenix and She-Hulk, and so, like, I remember we were talking about this on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
And like someone followed up in the comments is like he likes what Hulk says to Phoenix, right? Is like, you're not Phoenix. Phoenix, a bird lady. Hulk confused.
My favorite one was Rocket Raccoon with Chris Redfield goes, This one's for Raccoon City, you wanker.
There's a heavily armed woodland creature, and like Chris has no idea what to do about this.
If you're playing as Spider-Man and you switch into Magneto, and Spider-Man goes, Maggie.
Oh yeah, no, Spider-Man has some of the best ones. I recall like one of the funny quips he has with Ghost Rider is, so, any relation to JJ?
So my favorite parts of the story in Marvel Infinite were kind of like when they can make neat connections like that. Like there's like a little conversation between Tony Stark and Rad Spencer.
Oh yeah.
Like about his arm and stuff, where he's like, "Oh, hey, well, you work with what you got, right?" And
how could I lose? I have a bionic arm who is also my wife, and I'm severely depressed. Help me.
He has his wife for an arm.
Oh my gosh. It's actually funny too because they actually do reference that in Ultimate Marvel 2. Where Iron Man comes in and he's like, huh, couldn't afford the entire suit, could you?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh my god. Like, Marvel has so much fun with itself, and I appreciate that about it. Yeah, does Reeve move? Still wondering about that.
I don't think he does, but I'm not sure.
Then I'm not gonna take chances yet. Okay, that guy's moving. Because we're gonna deal with this now. Ah, you had to hit. It's okay, we can heal.
Oh yeah, I'm just looking at it right now. Marvel 3 had Taskmaster in it. Remember that? That was cool.
Oh yeah, that's right. I had to remind myself about that for a moment, and also we're surrounded. Hiya.
Maybe it would be a good idea to try and, like...
retreat a little bit?
Yeah, and, like, make a little wall.
Make a couple of walls at this point. It's actually really cool the way they did Taskmaster in Marvel 3, but... That's all I wanted to say about that. I'm gonna focus here.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? We might as well take advantage of this, huh?
Yeah.
Like, if there was any moment to do this, this is it.
Yeah, Mer can just delete some pieces off the board. This is the mission to use the Dragonstone.
Yep.
The only thing for the most part, nothing can hurt Mer here. She gets special dialogue if she talks to Morva, but Morva is very likely to kill her, unfortunately.
Actually, though?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, that's the area where things can get dangerous if we leave someone there with low resistance. So, what do you guys got? Steel axe, steel bow, steel axe and hand axe. What do you guys got? Steel lance, lance and javelin. Not terrible, actually. We could probably handle this. Okay, I think I know how I can do this. Because we're going to do this, and we're going to physic with Natasha.
Cool, okay.
Alright. What's a safe spot for you, Natasha? That's a long range. Okay, we'll move you over here. Awesome.
I want to respond to a comment we got on one of the previous videos of just, we were talking about Deadpool, and somebody was like, I really don't get the thing with Deadpool. And,
okay.
I don't think Deadpool's that funny. And, like, I want to validate that comment of, like, no, I get it, because Deadpool can be really freaking annoying.
Oh, absolutely.
Depending on who's writing him. I like Deadpool in the hands of a good writer, but also there's some bad Deadpool media out there. And I do think some people, and especially fans making their own Deadpool comic, sometimes don't really get what's funny about Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
Which is that, like, the OMG So Random thing is never, like, super funny to me with any characters. And when they write Deadpool like that, it's not as funny to me when he's just, like, unicorns and chimichangas.
Yeah, I getcha.
What's funny about Deadpool is that he is basically a Looney Tune. Is that he can get blown up and massacred and stuff like that, and he will survive all of it.
Yeah, he's no Deathstroke, he's no Spider-Man, he's Freakazoid.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes.
And meta's not always the funniest thing either. Like, it's very easy to overdo meta jokes.
Yeah, it's also a matter of, like, taste, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Like, you know, not everyone is going to enjoy this.
The first Deadpool movie is like a 50-50 to me of it being funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it's maybe even I think it's an alright movie. There's
like,
definitely
I
get some laughs out of it.
Yeah, I think it's a fine enough movie myself, personally.
Yeah.
That's just me, though.
Yeah, I think they did a pretty good job. In that, there was an overall, like, fourth wall breaking nature to the movie, though they never really dive into the idea of, like, that he knows he's in a piece of media.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited for Deadpool 3, actually.
I'm actually, like, I'm actually pretty surprised at how excited I am, too, for that, because, like, that actually looks pretty decent.
And it's probably the best thing they could do to, like, lean into the jokes of him joining the MCU with him being aware of. They're using the TVA, which is already established in the MCU, the Time Variance Authority.
Mm-hmm.
They're, like, the central plot mechanic of the Loki TV series, where they're the people, the interdimensional beings in charge of maintaining the timeline.
Yeah.
I've stuck with it for a very long time. I'm still following it. I tried to stay positive about it longer than most, but the MCU's been rough lately, guys.
Yeah.
It's gone rough.
Would you say it's a case of beating a dead horse?
I think I blame the same kinds of things that are why the writers had their strike.
Ah, you know what? Actually, that makes a lot of sense now that you mention that.
Like, so, like, the whole King the Conqueror thing.
Yeah.
That's just unfortunate. That's just some
Very,
bad luck.
very, very.
I think Jonathan Majors is a good actor, but screw him. He's a bad person, and I don't want him in these movies anymore.
Right.
And Marvel has to pivot, and that's unfortunate, but it's just what they can do.
Yeah.
It's just like each movie on its own kind of like struggles to feel like it knows what it wants to be. And I don't think there has to be like a clear vision for what the future holds all the time, because like from like the first like phase 1 of Marvel, like they didn't know what Infinity War and Endgame was gonna be like. It seems like they did, but they didn't.
Yeah, yeah.
They've gotten less good at that improv, though, of like making it look like they have a plan.
I see what you're getting at now that you say it in that context. That actually makes a lot of sense.
And I think the plan was Kang, though if the plan was Kang as like the new Thanos, there are some kind of really bizarre creative decisions. It used to be really exciting whenever you get to a post-credit scene and they show you, like, at the end of Iron Man 2, you get the post-credit scene of where Phil Coulson went and goes into the desert, and there's Thor's hammer.
Yes.
And it's like, oh my god, yeah, Thor's coming.
Like, holy crap, right?
Like, that movie was already slated, we knew it was coming, but, like, look at it.
Yeah, like, okay, this, like, we knew it was coming, but now we really know.
Yeah.
Like, awesome. That's what the hammer looks like? Oh, shoot.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Nice.
Thor, Love and Thunder gets into some stuff with the like Greek pantheon of gods.
Yeah.
He goes to a planet where a lot of the gods stay.
Yeah.
Which is a weird plot point in and of itself. But,
yeah, the whole thing with Zeus and like all that jazz.
Yeah, so he makes a fool of Zeus. It looks like he kills Zeus. Turns out Zeus is alive.
Yeah.
And in the post-credits scene, we see like, I will get vengeance for you, Father. And it's Hercules, who is a big character in Marvel Comics, mind you.
He is.
But, like, I look at this scene and I'm like, Hercules isn't gonna be in these movies. Like, I don't feel like that's really gonna happen in a movie. Like, when are we gonna have time to do Hercules? I would love Hercules coming in, but, like, the scope of the post-credit scenes has gotten so big.
It's like they're constantly trying to one-up the one beforehand, and it's like getting... It feels like they're spinning their wheels a bit.
Yeah, and it kind of becomes a, like, is this really going to be in another movie, or are you just kind of dicking around? Like, James Gunn admits that all the post-credit scenes in Guardians 2, he didn't actually have plans for. He, like, set up, like, Adam Warlock in the post-credits of that, and he set up Sylvester Stallone's character, Stakar.
Yeah.
And he admits he's like, we didn't really have a plan for these. I was kind of just like making funny references because that's what I do. And yet he still did better paying off these things in Guardians 3 than I predict any of these. Like the post-credit scenes in Marvel movies kind of just make me tired now.
Yeah, nah, I can understand that. To make a bit of a comparison, right? Is this a good comparison? No. Is this what this reminded me of? Yes.
Okay.
Is how they ended the seasons of RWBY.
So you'll have to explain because I haven't watched RWBY.
So, post season 2, because like I straight up, I'm going to go ahead and like let the fans know right now. I was a fan of RWBY. I actually thought it was really cool. It was nice that there was like this small individual project that was developed by a small team that paid homage to like, you know, cool like you know, that like 3D animation style with like anime-esque type of thing and all that jazz. Really, really cool stuff. I was a fan of Rooster Teeth. I think RWBY was great. Post season 4, however, it just got so tiresome after a while, and it was clear that things just didn't have the same spirit and that same amount of like passion and fun as it used to. A couple of the biggest factors is one, you remember we were having the conversation about Dungeons and Dragons and like, it like sometimes like certain campaigns can get to the point where it's like, oh, we have this NPC, we have that NPC, we have like so many different factors coming in, And
Yeah,
like,
we were saying it could be an easy trap for a DM to introduce too many plot elements.
That's what was happening with Ruby. It was like, oh geez, like okay, we have this character and this character suddenly that being introduced to the series, but like they go above and beyond to like try to like give him a backstory, to like give him like motivations and like so many different relationships and like why did they do this? Why did they do that? Especially the villains. They try to humanize the villains in such a way that it is absolutely spiritless. He does move!
Your eyes annoy me. Why do you not despair? Why do you not surrender?
Because I stand with Lady Erica and Prince Ephraim, and I will not let you foul these lands anymore!
This light! Impossible!
Yo, Arthur! Yeah, guys, Ivaldi.
I have studied my entire life in Roston and in the darkest libraries of Arcanum. No peasant from Renee is going to defeat me!
Hey, Arthur? Yeah, Lute? Show him what it means to be a true Mage of the Light. Once everyone else has taken their turn. Yeah, I figured Mer can handle this. But as I was explaining, right?
Yeah.
My biggest issue with Ruby, later on is that it got to the point where they were ending every season and every episode on the cliffhanger. And after a while, it's like, okay, how many cliffhangers are you going to give us before you basically just making us dangle on the side of a mountain? We're gonna get tired.
Yeah.
We're gonna fall off eventually. And that's exactly what happened. People fell off.
It's hard for me to diagnose without having seen the series, but I can see how that's exhausting.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, got a little off tangent there.
Love tangents.
But, first of all...
I love tangents, I love cosines.
Ay, madre. But yeah, that's kind of what that reminds me of, is like, with every, like, post-end scene, it just starts getting tiresome, and it's like they're constantly trying to one-up and raise the stakes. Same thing with Ruby. Every episode ended with a cliffhanger. Every season ended with a cliffhanger to set up for the next for the next season. And I'm like, can we just have like a break?
Yeah.
Can we have a break where we're not wondering what's going to happen next, type of thing? You know?
There were reasons why Last Airbender had early, like, just funny little adventures where you ride the elephant koi.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you do kind of need ebb and flow sometimes.
And I feel like Ruby lost that.
Yeah, like, sometimes you need to invade the Fire Nation on the Day of Black Sun, but sometimes you need to disguise yourself as the Painted Lady and, like, free a factory town.
Yeah. Okay, I'm thinking we finish Reeve off with Arthur.
Okay.
We'll have Franz rescue him, and we're gonna retreat people back.
Sounds good.
So, Lute, you were saying? Dark Servant of the Demon King, be gone!
Even if you defeat me, you're too late to stop it. The one true demon will rise.
Yeah, I knew Arthur was going to be the one for that one, but damn, bro. Well done.
You made him look like an idiot. Granted, you're using Ivaldi, but
yeah,
still.
yeah.
Yeah, if you want to learn to master the best light magic, maybe don't worship demons. I mean, I don't know how this works, but it just seems a little counterintuitive.
Okay, let me check something here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, we have the room now.
Yeah.
Gilliam, this is gonna be your job.
Granted, in Fire Emblem, light doesn't necessarily mean good, and dark doesn't necessarily mean evil, but demons are very, very dark creatures.
What is a demon in, like, mythology that we're aware of, right?
Yeah.
Who actually did practice light magic. Or, like, light power, as it were.
Well, depending on how you want to tell it, you could point to our good friend Lucifer Morningstar.
That is... you know what?
Whose name means light.
I realized it as soon as you said it. Yeah, you're right. Lucifer is a great example of that. Literally a fallen angel.
Yeah. It's tough because, I guess, like... I mean, certainly in Catholicism, it's not looked at as, like, light and dark magic.
True.
The light versus the dark is kind of more of a, like... it is more of an Eastern thing, or, like, a Southern Asian thing.
Mm-hmm.
That you see more in, like Zoroastrianism and stuff like that.
Right.
Where there's ideas of there being, like, devas and guardians of good that are in a constant battle against darkness.
Darkness.
And in those cases, I think it's pretty cut and dry that, like, light is good and darkness is bad. But I always think of, in Star Wars, I think when you gain a greater understanding of the mechanics of Star Wars, like, past just what you see in the movies.
Yeah.
The dark side isn't inherently evil.
No, they're not.
Now, in almost all the Star Wars stories we see, the guy at the head of the Sith is Palpatine. And before him, Plagueis, and they're both really bad. So in that case, the people who are representing the dark side are really evil. But it really is... The dark is supposed to be the other side of the coin of light, and not because you need to have both good and evil, though you do.
Yeah.
Having both is good.
Yeah.
It's more of an order versus chaos kind of thing.
That's how I saw it, honestly. And that's why, like, eventually we do get the idea of the Grey Jedi.
Yeah.
Which, if I recall, was started by Ahsoka.
Ahsoka's kind of the, like, new canon representation of that. That was an idea that came from Legends.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of people kind of want to interpret Ahsoka as a Grey Jedi.
I think a lot of that is because of how things played out in the Clone Wars, like the later seasons of the Clone Wars, where Ahsoka... Like, we literally see the event where Ahsoka defects from the Jedi Order to do things her way. And it's actually kind of funny because the one person who supported her in doing so was Anakin.
Yeah.
Like... And I guess in a way Obi-Wan did, but begrudgingly.
Yeah. Basically because in the event in the Clone Wars, Ahsoka gets wrongfully arrested for the blowing up of this place on Coruscant.
Yeah.
And is put in prison. Everybody's telling her, like, well, if you didn't do it, just wait and justice will prevail, and da-da-da-da. But, like, she has to take justice into her own hands and prove her own innocence and stuff, and at the end of all that, she's like, no, like, the Jedi didn't do anything for me. Like, the truth wasn't revealed because of the Jedi, it was proved because I went exactly against what I was supposed to do.
Yeah, because, if I recall correctly, the true culprit of that was, like, was a Coruscant, like, senator? Or, like, representative or something like that?
It was another Jedi, whose name I'm forgetting right now.
Yeah, I remember the episode, I just don't remember what her name was.
It was Luminara Unduli's Padawan.
That's right!
I think...
Whoa!
Hi, everybody.
Okay! Well then! Just a... Oh, goodness.
They, like, jump out of the woods, out of the...
I mean, we have the means to deal with them.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, doing so. I am going to have Merv finish this guy off, because I want him out of the way.
Do it. So if you get into the deeper lore of Star Wars, right? So this is before the, like, Knights of the Old Republic storyline, even. We know of the Sith of having this, like, rule of two.
Yes.
But before that, there were lots of Sith. And before even that, okay, First of all, the Jedi are not the only, like, wielders of the light side of the Force. The more I try to explain this, the further back I have to go in my explanation. Star Wars is so stupid.
I mean, that's Star Wars, like, in a nutshell when you think about it.
The Force can kind of be described in 4 distinct parts. As Obi-Wan says, the Force, it surrounds us and penetrates us. There is the cosmic force, which is the part that surrounds us, and there's the living force, which is the part that penetrates us. Life is the force, and also the universe is the force. So those are 2 parts of the force you can draw on. In addition to that, there is the light side and the dark side of the force.
Right.
So these 4 all exist as like a Venn diagram, but they're different aspects of the force that you can control. And in the history of the universe, there have been lots of people and orders that have been sensitive to or have manipulated the Force. It's not just the Jedi and the Sith. There are the Night Sisters on Dathomir, the witches. There are, if you've seen Rogue One, and there's that guy Chirrut Imwe. I am one with the Force is with me, who's like blind, but he almost seems precognitive.
Oh, yeah.
That's because he's a member of the Church of the Wills, and he's kind of using Force sensitivity in a sense to predict events and understand his surroundings. Mm-hmm. There have been lots of people who have used the Force. The Jedi do not have a monopoly on the light side. But they are a religious order that grew in power around the same time as the Galactic Republic, centered on Coruscant.
Right.
There was a war between the growing Galactic Republic and Mandalore, where the Mandalorians come. The Jedi got involved also because they were at war with a order called the Sith. And the Sith originally were from this one planet, and they were not just a people, there was a race. There was a race of Force-sensitive creatures on this one planet that was very strong in the Force, particularly the dark side. And the Jedi joined as an ally with the Galactic Republic to help finance their war against them, and the Jedi bombed the shit out of them.
Uh-huh.
There was a Jedi genocide we never talk about. So it's not like the Jedi have always done really nice things.
They've had their hand in some crappy shit in the past.
Yeah, and then other people rose up and kind of, the Order got named the Sith after this alien race that was massacred. And there used to be a lot of them, but then prior to the Knights of the Old Republic, there's a big battle when the Jedi have the support of the Galactic Republic and win that war and defeat them on Malachor. And there are very few of them left, and the only ones that are left kind of decide on this, like, okay, if we're going to continue to exist, we have to exist in secret. There'll only be 2 of us at a time.
Got it. Hope y'all have been paying attention.
Yeah, there will be a test. But while a big thing of being a Jedi is being the master of yourself, having order in all things, not letting your emotions take control, a big thing of the Sith is cultivating your own personal power, breaking your chains. The Sith Order would be very popular among, like, freed slaves, for example, because it would be about rising up and challenging authority. The Jedi Order, over the centuries, especially because they're now working with a major governing body.
Gilliam. Sorry.
No problem. I'm just going. Don't worry.
No, you're good. You're good, brother. I am paying attention. If you're wondering,
the Jedi would become very not about challenging authority, because you notice throughout Star Wars, there's a lot of slavery in the Star Wars universe, and the Jedi don't really do an awful lot about it.
That is true.
It's just kind of an accepted thing. They think it's kind of unfortunate, but like, nobody tried to save Anakin's mom from Watto. Qui-Gon's just kind of like, oh, hey, this kid's really Force sensitive. I'm gonna bet Watto for him, but like, I don't need his mom for anything. His mom can stay here and be a slave.
I guess in a way, it's like the it's sort of that argument of like, oh, this is just the natural order of things.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't rock the boat.
Right.
And like, be the best person you can be, and everything else will be okay.
which is kind of naive mindset.
Yeah.
Which explains a lot about the Jedi Order with that context, suddenly, doesn't it?
And what I was really hoping, because, like, in The Last Jedi, when Luke Skywalker is depressed on planet Octo, and because despite his trying to regrow the Jedi Order, he failed Kylo Ren, and Kylo Ren killed a bunch of people and stuff.
Yeah.
Luke's talking to Rey a lot, and he even brings up a lot of, like, the Jedi Order weren't that great. It was their negligence and their pomp and circumstance that allowed Darth Sidious to rise. Luke makes some good points, and I kind of wish the ultimate solution to the sequel trilogy, at the end, Rey just kind of decides, like, oh, I'm a Jedi, I'm gonna, like, go to the Jedi. I was really hoping that they were gonna have Rey come out of all this as, like, a gray Jedi, or as, like, something new. And they kind of just go status quo, and have her decide, I'm Rey Skywalker, I am a Jedi.
Which is kind of funny, too, because, maybe this is just me, like, projecting a little bit, but, there is another piece of Star Wars media that kind of followed that same, like, idea, but it did it so much better. Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
With Revan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, yeah, that is basically, like, you choose whether to stick with the Jedi Order that wronged you, or become a Sith and basically, like, get back at the Jedi that wronged you.
Yeah.
But, like, again, the context and the way it was presented was so much better. I will admit, maybe part of that is because we were, like, dead smack in the middle of it, and it gives us the choice, rather than, like, us watching, like, a new character try to make that decision on their own, you know what I mean? So, like, I will admit that might, like, play into why it's done better, in my personal opinion, in Knights of the Old Republic than it is in the movie. But, at the same time, the comparison is kind of uncanny when you think about it.
Yeah.
I wish we didn't have to deal with moguls!
Yeah, at least these guys are just Evil Eye moguls.
Yeah, they're Evil Eye moguls, but still, this complicates matters, especially because we got a bunch of monsters, like, bearing down on us over here. I might just form a wall, like, going down this way as we deal with these guys. And part of the wall is gonna be Mer. Like, I'm just gonna say, like, we're just gonna go ahead and have her take this guy out, honestly. Can you? Yes, you can. Dude, Mer's power!
Yeah.
Three heads are, in fact, not better than one.
Now that one head belongs to a dragon. Yeah, I think Mer's gonna max out at 20.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, at this point, we kind of just have to, like, have at it here. And let me just say, Vanessa, you are making amazing use out of the Dofnir. As a matter of fact, here we go. Yeah, I kind of like this, like, tag team with Inez, like, taking shots and her just, like, finishing.
Yeah.
Not quite enough, though. I'm a little scared of putting Ross there, specifically because his resistance is not that good.
Yeah, I can understand that. Unfortunately, I don't think he has any water bottles, any pure waters.
Yeah. Tethys does.
Can you figure out a way to...
As a matter of fact, I think I can.
You could, like, dance, trade it to him, then dance.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the lore of Star Wars is, like, its own interesting thing that doesn't always, like, thematically follow through with the actual stories that we see.
Which, in a way, kind of, like, is the fate of a lot of franchises that go on for longer than usual.
Yeah.
Which, like, you know, I'm not gonna blame the franchise and the writers for maybe getting a little bit too big for their britches, but at the same time, like, you know, it is one of those things that can happen.
I know a lot of people in the comments aren't going to agree with me, and that's okay. I hope we can still be friends. I really liked The Last Jedi. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
There are parts of it I don't like, but I thought it was a very bold shake-up of Star Wars things after The Force Awakens was like a little bit too just like samey and safe to me. And it got me really excited for where they could take this. And I think The Rise of Skywalker is a really impressive movie in how it just managed to make no one happy. How it just disappointed everyone. Because it does the same stuff that people complained about in The Last Jedi, and yet delivers none of the things that, like, you could do.
Like, none of the substance, in a way.
I was so excited for, like, it looked like Kylo Ren was gonna have to, like, step into the new villain position. No, Sidious, somehow Palpatine returned.
Oh, yeah. There was that one video that I found absolutely hilarious where, like, it was a spoof, obviously, but it was like, Yoda comes in and he's like,
Dad, you are not dead. I would like you to be.
I found that absolutely freaking hilarious. I'm actually gonna check something. Not terrible, actually.
There's a line I really like in The Last Jedi, and it's kind of a... So it's a callback to the original Star Wars, which is when Vader and Obi-Wan are fighting.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan... Vader's talking about, like, oh, how the mighty have fallen, da-da-da, like, Obi-Wan's not as impressive anymore. Obi-Wan says something about, if you strike me down now, if you strike me down now, I will become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. And in one literal sense, I guess, in, like, the lore, you could say that's because he's turning into a Force ghost, but more, like, thematically, it's, like, the idea that he left behind kind of helps create Luke in his journey, and, like... But as sort of a reference to that in The Last Jedi, Luke Skywalker is confronting Kylo Ren, who... Luke is the person who once kind of accidentally tried to kill Kylo Ren and sent Kylo on his path to the dark side.
Yeah.
And it's Luke's greatest mistake. And Kylo freaking hates Luke, and he's doing everything to try and kill this guy with blasters and missiles, and then comes down for the lightsaber fight, and Luke's not even turning on his lights. Like, Luke's not even really clashing with him, he's just dodging around. And Kylo says, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna finally be rid of you. And Luke says, if you strike me down in anger, I will always be with you.
Ooh.
And that's such a good burn.
That's a raw line, yeah. I remember that.
And it's kind of a fun turn on what Obi-Wan said.
Nice dodge, Cyrene. Okay, so... Yeah, we got this whole spiel going on.
Yeah, we're going to be dealing with a lot of reinforcements for a bit here. It's when you walk into certain boxes on the map, then it spawns reinforcements for the next few turns. So the reinforcements do run out eventually, and we've managed to take pretty good command of it.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you all for letting me rant about Star Wars. That was very fun for me.
Bro, you're fine. You're fine.
I had a really great time just now.
In response to what you just said, actually, I would like to respond to that in that, me personally, I didn't really enjoy The Last Jedi all that much.
That's fine.
But that's not me saying necessarily, oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, that's not necessarily me saying, like, you know, that's a bad thing, mind you. Like, you know, you're gonna like what you're gonna like, you're not gonna like what you're not gonna like. That's just the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
But, like, did I enjoy The Last Jedi? Not really. Do I think The Last Jedi is bad? Not really. It's just... Didn't quite click with me, like, from what I expect out of my Star Wars media, if that makes any sense, you know?
Yeah.
And I will admit, I'm a little biased because, I didn't grow up watching the original movies. I actually ended up watching them after the fact of, like, when they got popular. My introduction to the series was, believe it or not, the Clone Wars movie.
The movie that kicked off the Clone Wars?
Yeah, which,
oh boy,
let's recall, was not that good.
With Rada, Jabba the Hutt's son.
Yeah, which, I will be the first to admit is, kinda hot garbage.
You know, there's no wrong way to be a Star Wars fan, except for that. That was wrong.
I am sorry. I was misguided in my attempt to get into Star Wars.
No, that's cool. Because I can remember the first time talking about Star Wars with you, like, around when we were in high school, and you talking a lot about, like, Plo Koon and, like, those kinds of characters that show up in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though. Like, yeah, did I enjoy the movie The Clone Wars? No. Do I thank the movie The Clone Wars for introducing me to the animated series of The Clone Wars? Absolutely.
Animated series Clone Wars turns out to be pretty great. It's a lot of, like, average to get through to get to some truly great arcs.
Yeah, once they got to the arc, like, you want to know the point where I remember? The point that I remember where, like, the Clone Wars started really taking off in regards to, how good it was, regarding the series, is when they started the arc with the Malevolence.
Yes.
You remember that, right?
Grievous's one ship.
Yeah, Grievous's ship that would, like, had the ion cannon that basically rendered... It was basically an EMP cannon.
Yeah.
And, like, that whole arc where, they take, where Anakin and, Ahsoka take the Shadow Squadron, to, infiltrate, on a stealth mission to infiltrate the Malevolence.
And they hide behind the whales and
they hide behind the whales. They go through, Marlboro Run, the fog-infested, like, spatial area, and turns out there were, like, these huge creatures there that, like, would spell disaster. And, like, that was also the time that, like, that was also the arc that made me fall in love with Plo Koon, because, holy crap, like, Plo Koon is awesome!
Yeah. Plo Koon is a character who you can catch in the background of a lot of shots in the Star Wars prequels, and he had a name because back then George Lucas had a name for every extra.
Yeah.
He had to, so he could sell toys of them. But you didn't really get to learn much about them. So the Clone Wars took a chance to kind of flesh out a lot of these, like Plo Koon and Luminara Unduli. And...
Yeah. And, another one that I wanted to learn more about, and I eventually did, was Kit Fisto.
My main man, Kit Fisto.
Dude, Kit Fisto is super sick.
He was already, because there was a big part for him in the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars too. You know, the ones who were animated like...
Genndy Tartakovsky.
Yeah.
For those of you who might be curious, Genndy Tartakovsky is the same guy who did Samurai Jack and Primal.
Yeah, there's a really cool Kit Fisto cartoon by him.
I was actually really astonished because, like, I got introduced to the 3D animated Star Wars: The Clone Wars, right?
Yeah.
Little did I realize that there was this whole thing with Genndy Tartakovsky and their version of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and I was like, oh my god, this looks amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it was really, really sick.
And what's neat is I don't know if that's still kind of considered like semi-canon. Like in the 3D animated Clone Wars, the character oh shoot, what's her name?
You're gonna have to.
She's the Sith. She's
Oh, Ventress?
Ventress.
Yeah, Ventress.
Asajj Ventress.
Yeah, Asajj Ventress. Yeah.
She was introduced in the Genndy Tartakovsky cartoon. And when they bring her in for the 3D Clone Wars, even though the older Clone Wars isn't necessarily canon, they don't like reintroduce her. They just kind of like assume like, oh yeah, same origin story. But yeah, the 2D animated one was originally made and premiered the weeks leading up to Star Wars Episode 3.
Yeah.
So for us, that was all canon, and we were seeing... because the last episode was Grievous's kidnapping Chancellor Palpatine, and Episode 3 starts off with Luke and Obi-Wan and Anakin going in to save him, with the neat inclusion that while Grievous is escaping, he has a clash with Mace Windu, and Mace Windu crushes his chest plate.
Yeah!
So that's why Grievous coughs all the time, because Mace Windu just effed him up.
Yep, very much so. And yeah, I really like the way they wrote a lot of the characters in the Clone Wars, both in the Genndy Tartakovsky cartoon. Like, okay, first of all, the Genndy Tartakovsky cartoon of Clone Wars emphasizes a lot of what makes Genndy Tartakovsky such a genius when it comes to animated storytelling. He's kind of like my go-to example for minimalist.
Yeah,
because a lot of his like style is just saying so much with so little.
His scripts are certainly very minimalist.
Oh, absolutely.
His characters don't talk a lot; they let their actions do the talking.
And like, turns out this is a really, really good way to do Star Wars: The Clone Wars, because a lot of the battles that happen in the Genndy Tartakovsky animated series of the Clone Wars, a lot of the battles have zero dialogue. Like, all of it just, like, is just expressions, slow, like, animated movements, a lot of ambiance, but there's so much being told. I love his style for that.
That's why in Samurai Jack, the Scotsman is so funny.
Because
in a character, in a show where people don't really talk, he talks as much as, like, 10 other characters.
Yep.
You low-down, lily-livered, bow-legged, horse-haired, mutton-eating, foot-sniffing.
Yep. Oh, man. Okay, I still haven't memorized that entire insult, admittedly, even though I'm the one you would expect to do so.
I was ad-libbing it. That's nothing like what he actually says. But...
Oh, yeah. Like, I know he says, like, stoner, milk drinking,
Yeah.
like, silly, like, slipper wearing, lily livered, wee tatty type of thing. Oh, man. No, like, that whole sequence, like, of him just insulting Samurai Jack in every conceivable way possible became, like, one of the most amazingly, like, memed moments in animation, like in the Cartoon Network animation, because oh my lord, that was a sequence that he went with, and boy did he go with it. Are you looking up what he said?
I'm trying to find it. Apparently that clip is 20 seconds long.
Yep.
Of him just saying this and it doing like different cuts.
Yep.
So good.
One of the cool things about Samurai Jack, and again, Genndy Tartakovsky's animation style in general, is the fact that, the battles, right?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of them happen and there's just, like, no dialogue or anything, but you can tell there's so much passion and love going into it. One of my favorite examples is, like, the ninja, the Shadow Warrior.
Yeah.
And, like, that whole sequence of, like, black and white, so incredible.
Yeah, where he can, he hides in shadow, but Jack can hide in light.
And another really good example of, for me is, his use of music. A good example of that is a Stone Warrior.
Yeah.
Like, the Lava Warrior. And, like, all of it is just, like, cuts and, like, cuts. Like, there's no sound effect either. It's all music. And it's so cool.
Did you know there's a villain that Jack fights in one episode? He looks like a tiger guy. He's like a big game hunter.
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about.
And he originally premiered in an episode of Monkey from the Dexter's Lab show.
That's right! The Hunter.
Yeah, the Hunter. But
Yeah,
he shows
I
up
remember the
as-
Hunter.
But he shows up as a Jack and Daxter.
As a Samurai Jack.
Oh my god, somebody help me. It's been 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah, for real, though.
By the way, so that insult is, what do you think of that, Mr. Pajama wearing, basket face, slipper wielding, clip deep buckle, gather up in blate maw, blether and gomeril Jesse, oaf looking schooner, nyaff pluky shan, milk drinking, soy face, shill pit, mimmuth, sniveling, worm-eyed, hot and blog, vile stoochie, calibric, tate.